Only one group dares to challenge this intergalactic threat, the Super Friends.
Hey guys, Rez the Collector here with another action figure review. Now, as you can see, I've got 5 figures here in the background, and that's because I'm going to go ahead and do this as a single review for all 5 figures in the DC Direct Crime Syndicate series. Now, I've been debating with myself on if I was going to do separate reviews on these guys, or if I was going to do them all as a whole. I decided to do them as a whole. The reason behind that really is they're not very interesting figures for the most part. Pretty simple articulation on them. The sculpts are so for the most part. They're very simple figures, but they are comic accurate. Well, I can say the sculpting is so-so. It's not really the sculptor's fault. It's basically what they were given to work with. So let's go ahead and get started. We're basically going to start from the left and work our way over. We'll be finishing with Ultraman. And I believe I actually did this with the DC collectibles as well. Not all of them, but I think the last few I kind of did in one shot because I got them all at once. Now, I got 4 out of the 5 figures at one time. I went to a new little collectibles shop. It's about an hour from here. It was my first time there. I stopped in, and they have 2 floors. The first floor is comics and new collectibles, and then on the second floor is stuff that basically like people's collections that they're selling. Now, I don't know if the people had sold the collection to the shop, and the shop was then reselling them. They put them up there, or if they were actually doing it on like a commission basis and selling them for the people. I'm not sure on that. I didn't really ask. They had 4 of the 5. They had Ultraman, Superwoman, Owlman, and Johnny Quick. The only one not there was Power Ring. Now, initially, I was only going to buy Ultraman because, as anybody who watches my videos knows, I'm primarily a Superman collector. Though lately I have greatly expanded my collection to include a lot of the others in the DC universe. Especially the Crime Syndicate here. I now own every Crime Syndicate figure ever produced by DC or Mattel. A full 3 sets, and there's actually one extra Ultraman that was put out by Mattel for a 2-pack with the Lex Luthor of Earth 3. So initially I was just going to pick up Ultraman. I got him along with a few other figures, and my wife and I left the store. Well, then I decided I really wanted Superwoman as well. So I ended up, I headed to the car. My wife walked back to the store because it's a big like strip. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Niagara Falls or the Wisconsin Dells. It's like that. It's a very touristy little town with a bunch of little different types of shops. So I headed to the car and she went back to the shop. Now I know my wife. I love my wife. My wife knows me. Because I'd been debating about Johnny Quick and Owlman as well, and I was like, no, just get Superwoman. And I was like, no, get the other 2. No, just get Superwoman. I ended up just saying, just get Superwoman. But I know my wife. My wife knows me. She bought the other 2 as well. So then all I needed was Power Ring, and I actually got him for a very good price. I got him for like $10 on eBay to complete the set. Because once I had 4, I had to finish off the set with 5. So I got them all in package, and they were in these cool kind of things that DC Direct had done at one point with resealable packaging. I'm not going to grab the packages because I've got them on top of the case at the moment. But basically, it's almost like a little Tupperware container. It pops open, take the figure out, pops back closed, and you can put it back in there and reseal everything. Kind of a cool little concept. They didn't do it for very long. I did see there are a few other figures that they did do it with besides the Crime Syndicate, but it didn't last long with DC. So I ended up with all of these guys, and I'm very happy to have the entire set. I'm very happy to have basically every Crime Syndicate figure that's ever been produced, but this is my least favorite of the 3 sets. Of course, my favorite's going to be the new DC Collectibles one. Behind that is going to be the Mattel set, and this one's going to be dead last. Now, I know I've kind of blathered on like I tend to do at the beginning of my videos, giving you guys a little story of how I got my figures. And I know some of you like it, some of you don't, so I apologize to those who don't like it. So let's go ahead and start her off with Johnny Quick. I'm going to bring him in a little bit. Let's get a better look at him now. Like I said, the sculpts are pretty basic, but they are comic accurate. Johnny Quick does have kind of a egg-shaped head here, nice little cone head going on. And I don't know about all of them, but mine looks a little cross-eyed. Trying to get some focus here. There we go. Mine looks a little cross-eyed. You can see he's really got that cone head shape going on. The lightning bolts here are only coming down to just the top of the abdominal muscles. He is a pretty thin figure, but they all are pretty thin. Basically, DC has gone a lot with trying to make Flash or Speedster figures thinner to kind of show the amount of like carbs that they burn. He doesn't have a whole lot in the way of articulation. None of them do. This is not a ball-jointed head. It's a straight peg head, so he's got back and forth, but absolutely no up and down. Not an overly muscular torso. Of course, you got to know when these figures, or the art that for these figures came out, superheroes weren't the super uber muscled guys that they are today. They were more lean, and everything wasn't as defined. Now he does have... Are they ball jointed? Yes, they're ball jointed, but they're very tight. Ball jointed arms, absolutely no bicep to speak of. He does have then an elbow bend, bend at the hips, and he's actually one of the better ones where there's actually more of a... I mean, it's not natural looking because it's, but it's a better, more curved, better flowing line here at the hip. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we get a look at the rest of the figures. Of course, he does have back or front and very little to no back, and he's got, of course, a knee bend. So that's pretty much it for Johnny. He is not a overly detailed figure. None of them really are. They're basic bodies, basically with paints and different heads. Because basically, let's go ahead and just take a look at the next figure, and you'll see what I mean. The next figure we're going to take a look at is Power Ring. Now, as you can see, Power Ring has the same basic torso as Johnny Quick, but as you can see here with his hips, it's a straight cut line and less natural than it was with Johnny, where it actually had a little bit of an angle. So this just looks a little bit stranger than his. Of course, I do like the Power Ring's ring, where they actually got the very nice symbol here on the ring itself, showing the little X, I guess you want to call it. That's one thing I've noticed that DC has found hard to do, is getting, or even Mattel, getting the symbol actually on a Power Ring. And DC did a fantastic job with this one. It's a little bit off where it should be. It should be right on this middle finger, and it's a little off to the side, but they still got the symbol on there and did a great job on that. Now, just like with Johnny Quick, he's got ball jointed shoulders. Of course, he just got a back and forth head. There's not going to be any up and down here. Now, I do like his mask. I like how it sweeps up to the points. It does follow very naturally, like the symbol on the chest sweeping up to points. I really like how they did that. The head sculpt on him is very, very decent. I mean, it's not great. None of them are, well, actually, one of them is very good. But I mean, it's a very basic head sculpt, but the sculptor did a good job of capturing Power Ring's likeness on here. The costume is extremely basic. He has a basic symbol on his chest. He's just green, and he's got this racing stripe, or whatever you want to call it, and then just white gloves and just boots here. Now again, very basic articulation. The head just goes back and forth, straight peg head, ball jointed shoulders, just forward on the hips, same as Johnny Quick, and a knee bend. There's absolutely no ankle, no wrist rotation whatsoever on this guy. Now, out of all of them, he would have been the one I would like to have seen more of a wrist rotation on, just so we could rotate that ring hand and get him into a couple better poses. So there you go, guys. There is Power Ring. Oh, and he did come with an accessory. And he is the only figure to come with an accessory. He came with his power battery. And it is a very unique power battery. Of course, the DC Collectibles, the new one, also has a very unique power battery with it. The only one that didn't come with one was the Mattel version. Did not have a power battery with him. But very cool little power battery. You can actually shine light into it and it'll glow. You can put the light through the top or through the back. And then it'll glow through the symbol on the front. Basically looks like an Xbox symbol. Very cool little accessory for him to come with. I always love when a lantern comes with a lantern. On to Owlman. Now, Owlman has a very unique head sculpt, obviously. They did try to make it owl-like, and this is comic accurate. Again, there is no ball-jointed head here. It's just a back-and-forth peg. Very different torso sculpt from Johnny Quick and Power Ring, whereas this one is kind of made to look like he's got kind of a looser fitting shirt on. Gives us much less definition in the ab area. We can still see the pecs, but much less definition in the abs, but it does give us that nice wrinkled look. He does have what looks like a gun holster on almost a Superman looking belt. With the oval here belt buckle, but it does have kind of like the Batman cartridges here. Of course, he is an evil version of Batman. You can see the bottom of his cape is more Batman-esque, but he has kind of like pirate boots, more reminiscent of, say, the Martian Manhunter. Like Power Ring and unlike Johnny Quick, he does kind of have that straight cut here for the hips. And on him, the gun holster is going to prevent his right leg from moving out farther, but his left leg can go out pretty far. Again, we're not going to get much back on him. A little bit more back than we did in the other ones, but his cape, which is a hard plastic, is going to stop that. Again, same articulation. We've just got hip, knee, ball joint at the shoulder, elbow, and then the back and forth on the head. Again, the head sculpt and the cape on him are where our big differences for this figure is, besides that ab that we already talked about. You can see there's a little bit of paint QC there, but very unique head sculpt. He's got the owl cowl on, but does absolutely nothing to hide his face. And he's got some kind of weirder hands, whereas Power Ring has a fist and a slightly open hand. Johnny Quick has two fists, and Ultraman has two fists. He's kind of got a little like finger flicking out there, and then both of his hands are just sitting there open. And again, this would have been a great figure to get some rotation on the hands, because there's not really much you can do with this other than I suppose Ultraman's big, or not Ultraman, Owlman's big weapon was the hug. He will hug you to owly doom. So yeah, not a whole lot you could do with Owlman with those open hands. Kind of an odd choice for DC to go with that. Don't really know what the thinking was there, but that's the figure that they gave us. Alright, on to Superwoman. Now actually, and this is strange because it's the same as with the DC Collectibles, my favorite figure out of the lot ended up being Superwoman. She has the best face sculpt. Her face sculpt is just amazing. She looks insane. It's actually almost a Joker face sculpt, and her hair sculpt as well is just fantastic. The sculptor on her just did a flat-out amazing job. The face, the hair, the paint on her is superb all the way around. I don't think they could have really done a better head sculpt for this figure. Again, she has more of a classic costume, just that S and the oval there on the chest, spaghetti strap or whatever you want to call it, for the top of the costume into a straight yellow cape. Again, it's a harder plastic, it's not going anywhere. She, of course, does have a lasso because though she is Superwoman, she is the evil Wonder Woman of this era, but her alter ego was Lois Lane. She does not have ball-jointed shoulders. She has a straight up and down shoulder, and no, of course, ball-jointed head either. She's just going back and forth, and she doesn't have much of a back and forth because that hair sculpt is stopping her. And that's a problem with a lot of female figures, is they'll have an amazing hair sculpt, but it's going to stop pretty much most, if not all, articulation on the head. She has the strangest leg articulation of them all. She does not have any cuts here at the hips, as you can see. She's got kind of like an Alex Ross, some of those figures where it just rotated oddly at the hip. A lot of the Kingdom Come figures are like that, like the Kingdom Come Flash, if you've seen my video on him. It really, really limits her in what you can do with her because of this odd articulation. I suppose you could have her sit somewhat like this, but you can't really extend the other leg out to where it should be because that one's just going to weirdly rotate as well. She is actually pretty difficult to get to stand, and I actually had to do some hot water tricks on her because her feet were pretty badly bent when she first came out of package. And her feet are extremely tiny, and she's got these heels on, so she's very hard to stand. I actually almost regretted taking her out of the case because I got her to stand. She was in a good position, and it's probably going to take me a couple minutes to get her back in there to where she's going to be standing on her own again. But she's just got a standard yellow cape. She's just got some almost knee-high boots that do come in down to that high heel there. Like I said, the weird rotation at the hips, just the up and down at the arms and the elbow. Of course, no wrist rotation whatsoever. She almost has the same hand as Owlman with the way the fingers are kind of shown there on that left hand. But overall, even with her problems standing, just for the face sculpt alone, she ended up being one of my favorite figures, or my favorite figure from this set. Now, last but not least is the Ultraman figure. Again, a very comic accurate figure, but weird. Just Ultraman's costume during this era was just goofy. It really is. If you've seen my review of the Mattel one, at least they did it better with the Mattel than the Mattel did. Mattel basically, with this V here, looks like they just made a V out of Play-Doh and stuck it to his chest. They at least integrated this one into the costume where it's a single piece and it swoops down into it. Of course, we've got the big red U here on the front. The cape does come up pretty large off the shoulders. It kind of has to be seen behind the big V here. And I don't get this whole thing. I mean, it's not like it's shaped like a W. I don't know what the artist was thinking when they gave him this costume. I have no idea what the thinking behind that was whatsoever. Just like all the others, he has a hard plastic cape, and he has an odd neck. And again, it is comic accurate, but as you can see, it's a very long neck. It comes up really far from the body. It's kind of sloped forward. I mean, you could really see here from the back how just extended that neck is. And again, that wasn't sculptor's choice. They were going by the artwork provided. For whatever reason, Ultraman did have this like extended giraffe neck. Other than that, I do like the sculpting in the cape. While it is very thick, it kind of has to be, at least for the front, to get up and over that V. Again, very odd here at the hips with that straight cut to give us the hip motion. And that was, I'm assuming, sculptor's choice, or maybe their art director, I'm not sure. Very limiting him for his backward movement, of course, but he does have decent front movement. Like the rest of the guys in the set, he does have ball-jointed shoulders, he does have elbow, and of course no wrist to speak of. That hip we've already talked about, and he does have, of course, a knee bend without an ankle rotation of any type. So, overall impressions of this set, it's kind of goofy. While it is accurate to the artwork, it just... I don't think it was a really good seller for DC because of the goofiness of the characters. I mean, even his head sculpt. I mean, well, it's a good sculpt. They did a good job on the sculpting. He's got this huge frown. One of the eyes looks oddly set. This one here on this side looks oddly set. Whoever did it was obviously skilled at sculpting, but the proportions and the facial expression, I don't know. Definitely not one of my favorite figures. He is definitely one of the fuggliest figures in my collection. And there's just no getting around that. From the big ass V to the red U. Again, it is better than the Mattel, because the Mattel's just got this big separate piece for the V, and the U on the Mattel one almost looks like it's from like a kid's alphabet set that they just glued. It's just this big U separate piece that they just stuck on the chest. So it does have that over it, but that's about all I can say going for this figure. So there you guys have it. This is the DC Direct 5 figures from the Crime Syndicate. Came out quite a few years past. I hope you guys stuck with me for this. I know this was kind of long, and it's not a lot of figures that people are very interested in, so if you did stick with me, I want to thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I know I haven't been getting back to comments lately, people, and I'm sorry about that. I haven't had it in me lately, but I do read every comment. I appreciate every comment, and please don't stop commenting because you're not getting replies from me. I'm going to go back and try to reply to all of them, but I do enjoy reading every single one of them. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.